She leaned closer, and I could barely catch my breath. "If you're curious, just ask," she whispered. I froze, not because of the words, not even because of her age, though that was part of it. I froze because of the weight behind them. That sentence carried something I wasn't prepared for, a daring, quiet invitation I couldn't ignore. I'd known my neighbor, Mara, for over 6 months. 6 months of polite hellos in the hallway, small talk about the weather, occasional shared packages when one of us wasn't home. She was 50, vibrant in a way that made the world feel smaller, more personal. She had this calm, effortless presence that drew people in, and somehow I had fallen under her orbit without realizing it. I told myself it was absurd. She's married to life, set in her routines. I'm 29, restless, full of unfinished sentences and impulsive ideas. Our lives shouldn't intersect like this. Yet here I was, frozen with her eyes on mine. I'm not usually the type to let a glance do this to me. I analyze, I plan, I keep walls high, especially with women older than me. But Mara was different. There was something soft yet urgent in the way she moved, something that made me question everything I thought I knew about boundaries, about timing, about desire. I'd known my neighbor, Mara, for over 6 months. 6 months of polite hellos in the hallway, small talk about the weather, occasional shared packages when one of us wasn't home. She was 50, vibrant in a way that made the world feel smaller, more personal. She had this calm, effortless presence that drew people in, and somehow I had fallen under her orbit without realizing it. I told myself it was absurd. She's married to life, set in her routines. I'm 29, restless, full of unfinished sentences and impulsive ideas. Our lives shouldn't intersect like this. Yet here I was, frozen with her eyes on mine. I'm not usually the type to let a glance do this to me. I analyze, I plan, I keep walls high, especially with women older than me. But Mara was different. There was something soft yet urgent in the way she moved, something that made me question everything I thought I knew about boundaries, about timing, about desire. We met first in the lobby of our apartment building. She had been carrying groceries that looked heavier than she could comfortably handle. I offered to help. She declined at first, polite, distant. Then she laughed, and I remember thinking that laugh could hold entire conversations if you let it. From that night on, interactions became frequent. Elevator rides turned into short walks to the store. Casual "how are yous" evolved into confessions about the city, about her childhood, about regrets she'd never told anyone else. And slowly, I started revealing parts of myself, too. Not big, dramatic secrets, just small pieces, the ones you let slip when you trust someone unconsciously. I remembered the first time I felt something I wasn't supposed to. We were in the laundry room. I was folding clothes. She was across from me, carefully balancing a basket on her hip. She looked at me, really looked, and said, "You always seem like you have something on your mind. Do you ever stop?" I laughed nervously. "Sometimes, but not often enough." She tilted her head, studied me. "You should stop. Life's too short to carry it alone." That was it. That was the first spark. Not lust, not obsession. Something subtler, but far more powerful. Connection. Weeks passed and our interactions became more intentional. We'd meet in the hallway, exchange stories about our days, discuss books we'd both read. I noticed little things, her subtle perfume, the way her fingers moved when she spoke, the quiet steadiness in her eyes. And every time, my chest tightened, my thoughts tangled. I tried to resist. I reminded myself constantly, she's older, wiser, her life is her own. Don't be stupid. Don't ruin what little friendship we have. But my mind betrayed me. At night, I replayed our conversations, imagined us sitting closer, talking longer, laughing louder. Then came the night it all changed. I was returning from work, tired, thinking about nothing, when she waved me over to her apartment. The rain had begun, soft at first, but steady, painting the city in melancholy hues. I stepped in, and the familiar warmth of her place wrapped around me. Books lined the walls, soft music played somewhere in the background. The scent of coffee lingered. We spoke casually at first, about work, about the weather, about neighbors we didn't like. but the room had a weight I hadn't noticed before. The quiet stretched, filled with unspoken possibilities. She moved closer, almost instinctively. My heart thudded. "I never realized how much I enjoy your company," she said quietly. "I mean, really enjoy it." I swallowed. "I feel the same. You make the city smaller, somehow, warmer." She smiled, and it wasn't the casual smile I was used to. It was intimate, vulnerable, something that told me she was opening herself and trusting me to stay. Then came the whisper, "If you're curious, just ask." Time stopped. The words were simple, but their meaning was layered. She wasn't teasing, she wasn't flirting lightly. She was daring me to step into something I couldn't predict, something I couldn't control. I froze, not because of her age, not even because of this was forbidden or risky in the usual ways. I froze because I realized how much I wanted to step closer anyway. Her eyes searched mine, patient but probing. I don't know if I should," I admitted, my voice barely audible. "Then don't," she said softly. "But I won't hide it from you either, not anymore." I could feel my walls crumbling, and for the first time in years, I wanted to let them. The days that followed were a delicate balance. We kept our friendship, but it was heavier now, charged. Every glance held double meaning. Every touch lingered. Every conversation had an edge of something unspoken. I caught myself imagining her in ways I had never imagined anyone, thinking about her at night, wondering what she was doing, if she was thinking about me too. My mind raced with desire and guilt simultaneously. And Mara? She was calm, measured, yet somehow impatient. She invited me into her life in subtle ways, an extra cup of coffee, a shared walk in the park, a book left on my doorstep, small gestures that spoke volumes. Then came the night of the turning point. She invited me for dinner, just dinner, casual. She cooked, she poured wine, we talked about everything and nothing. But this time, there was no hiding. Every word we said carried weight. "I sometimes wonder if I should step back," she said quietly, staring her pasta. "I know, but maybe some complications are worth it." She didn't respond immediately. She looked at me, really looked, and I knew in that instant she had been thinking the same thing. The evening grew later, and rain pelted the windows harder. We moved to the living room, sitting across from each other. Silence stretched. My mind raced. Should I stay? Should I leave? What would this mean if I crossed the invisible line? Then she leaned closer, so close that I could feel her breath. "If you're curious, just ask," she whispered again. I didn't hesitate this time. I leaned forward, our hands met. A spark shot through me, electric, undeniable. "I am," I admitted, "curious about everything, about you." She smiled softly. Relief or maybe satisfaction, I couldn't tell, but it was enough to make my heart hammer. The next hours were a slow burn. We talked, we shared past regrets, unspoken fears, longings we hadn't admitted to ourselves. The conversation was intimate, the vulnerability mutual. There was tension, yes, desire, absolutely, but the intimacy was emotional first, a bond forged in shared honesty rather than impulsive passion. Over the next weeks, our connection deepened. We navigated it carefully, aware of societal judgment, aware of our age difference, aware of our own fears, but we couldn't deny the pull. Every encounter left us wanting more. Every absence felt like a small ache. Our first kiss didn't come suddenly. It was in the kitchen, late at night, her hand brushing mine as we both reached for a glass. Our eyes met, and we laughed nervously, realizing what was about to happen. And then our lips met. Gentle, tentative, but it spoke of months of suppressed emotion, longing, and trust. The conflict wasn't external, it was internal. Every touch, every word, every glance was weighted with the potential for heartbreak. We both feared moving too fast, yet neither of us wanted to retreat. Over time, we learned to balance desire and caution. We shared mornings with coffee, evenings with laughter, nights with conversation. We allowed our connection to grow naturally, without rushing, without forcing. The climax of our story came unexpectedly, a rainy Sunday afternoon. I had come over for tea.
She was at the window, looking out at the storm, quiet. I stood behind her. "You know," she said softly, "I've never felt this alive, not in years." I put my hand on hers. "Neither have I." We stayed like that, silent, connected, letting the moment linger. It wasn't dramatic. It didn't need to be. The weight of our honesty, our courage to embrace our feelings despite the complications, that was enough. In the end, we didn't rush to a fairy tale. We didn't need to. Life was messy, love was messy, and our connection was real. We chose honesty, patience, and emotional vulnerability over instant gratification. Some nights we still sit across from each other, holding hands, listening to the rain. Some nights we talk about the past, about fears, about the impossible paths that brought us here. And some nights we simply exist together,